Hi folks, Tim here again with timsclass.com. Today we're here to talk about air compressors. This particular one's made by M-Glow. They're still in business under the name M-Glow, but they're actually purchased by DeWalt back in 2000. And just a couple of notes about that. This particular compressor, when I bought it, I think they ran about 350 bucks, which seems pretty expensive for a small portable compressor. But you get what you pay for when you're buying a compressor. This little booger right here is heavy. It weighs about 70 pounds. DeWalt actually makes one that looks identical to this. That's actually about 20 pounds lighter. So they had to take something out somewhere to cut that weight down. So this particular one, I've had it about 10 years. It's a great compressor, you can't tear it up. So that was just my little spot for M-Glow. But if you come around here, I want to show you some parts on this. The first thing you want to do in the morning before you get ready to go to work, and you're going to be using a pneumatic tool, we'll be covering that in our next lesson, but you want to keep good maintenance on this thing. So the first thing you want to do, if you look here at the bottom of this, you'll see you've got a little lever here. This is to drain the tank. And what happens anytime you're using this compressor, you're compressing air, which makes it cold. So if it's warm outside, that compressed air is going to liquefy and you're going to end up with water in these tanks. So the first thing you want to do, and there's a valve for this tank and a valve for this tank that's around here on this side. But first thing you want to do, and it's going to make some noise, so just kind of cover your ears for a second. We're going to drain the water out of this by turning this little nozzle. See all the nasty, muddy looking water that came out of the bottom of that thing. Okay, it's important that you drain that on a regular basis. Otherwise, that is going to go through your hose and into your guns. And that gets kind of expensive when you start tearing up your guns. So always keep that in mind. You want to do that if you're going to use this all day in the summer. You want to do that in the morning. Do it again at lunch. Constantly get that water out of there. Okay. We won't take the time to drain this tank because I drained it just earlier this morning. Come on around this side. You're going to see right in here, if I had pulled this little nozzle first, it would have let out quite a bit of the air pressure. So I didn't want to do that. I wanted to drain it with all that air pressure pushing all that water out. But at the end of the day, you normally just want to pull that and let the air out. And we'll do that at the end of the video. Okay, here's your on-off switch, fairly self-explanatory. And you'll notice you got two different gauges here, okay? This gauge is the air pressure that's gonna be in the tank. This particular one, I think, holds up to 140 pounds per square inch on this thing. So these tanks will fill up with air and it'll stop around 140 because the tanks are full. And it'll sit there waiting for that tank to empty. Once it gets down to around 85, somewhere in there, 90, somewhere in there, it will automatically kick back on and kick it back up to 140 to keep constant pressure in this tank. All right, this one is the pressure that's going to your guns. And every gun has a different pressure rating. So you need to look on your gun and see how many pounds per square inch that gun is capable of handling. Most guns, somewhere between 80 and 100 PSI is what runs that gun. Incidentally, those are called pneumatic guns because they're powered by air. All right, this little control valve right here regulates how much pressure goes to your gun. So I want to look at this when I get ready to set my gun up, and I want to set this to whatever setting that my gun needs to operate under. A couple of other things to notice about this compressor. You've got a oil pump down here. You want to check your oil occasionally on a fairly regular basis just to make sure that it's maintaining the right levels. It's got a 1.1 horsepower motor, and just from that little bit, it's a little warm already. So this part right here gets hot. So be careful when you're working around this. Just know that that could burn you, okay? Let's talk about CFMs. This particular model is capable of 3.2 CFMs. And what that means is cubic feet per minute of air pressure that it will push out. So the higher the CFM, the more air pressure that compressor is capable of putting out on a consistent basis. So let's say I had a plasma cutting machine, which is a big steel cutting machine, and it's got plasma that shoots out through there, and it uses air pressure to push that plasma out. Well, I need to have a compressor that with a minimum of 8 CFM. Okay, you're not going to find that in a small portable compressor. Most of your small portable compressors are anywhere from 2 to about 3.5 CFM. So this particular one will run 1 gun at a time. Occasionally it could run 2 smaller guns, but if I wanted to frame a house, this would not be the compressor I would want to use because it's going to constantly be turning on and on and on. The CFM is just not enough, okay? So I think that pretty well sums it up on the compressor. Let's turn it up and we'll go over a few things. Let me make sure, I think I shut that valve down. Okay, so we're going to turn it on and you're going to hear it make sound, and then it's going to warm up, and then it's going to kick on. So come over here where you can see these levers, and let's flip it on. Okay, you can see this one stopped. Looks like somewhere around 120. I was thinking it was 140, but it's 120 is what this one goes up to. And then you can see down here on this particular gauge, looks like we've cranked it way too far up. We're going to loosen it down. Okay. After I did all that bragging on it, the gauge is not working correctly. I'll fix that before our next video. But you get the general idea. 2 gauges, one of them controls the air pressure in the tank, one of them controls the pressure of the gun. Something else I meant to mention, this is a portable compressor. It's an electric one, so you have to plug it in. You can buy gas-powered portable ones. You can probably see them with the 2 long tubes. Looks like a wheelbarrow. They actually call them a wheelbarrow compressor. And it's got a gas motor on it, so you can take it out anywhere where there's no electricity, and you just simply crank it up and you've got good power to be able to frame. You also have stationary compressors. Those big, tall, look like a big water heater. Those are great for a shop, for anywhere that's got to have a lot of air pressure going on at the same time. So let's end the lesson by, let me show you how this little valve works, and we'll call it a day on the compressor. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it off and watch what happens when I pull this little valve. This is what you'd want to do at the end of the day. Okay, so it drained most air, but not all. And that sums up my lesson for the day on air compressors. Have a good one.